Welcome everybody to another episode of Prepper Talk Radio. This is actually, if I remember the numbering, I did the numbering. It's the 519th episode. So we're cranking. We got a lot of episodes out there. So welcome to the show. If you're watching live with us, make sure you hit the like and share it out. But definitely hit like and thumbs up wherever you're at and wherever you're listening. And if you're listening on Spotify or on Apple, iTunes, iPod, whatever it is that the Apple has, sorry. If you're listening later, please give us a 5-star review or we'd love to have a comment. I actually just realized that Spotify has comments on, I thought the comment was on our whole overall show, but the comments are on each individual episode. So if you've made comments on our episode, I apologize that we haven't replied, but I'm going to start being a little better on that as well, which is kind of cool. So thank you so much for listening. Thanks for being here. Tonight's show, we're going to have some fun. We're going to talk about some skills that your family can learn and that your family needs to know, especially your kids. What are some skills that you should learn, and what are some skills that you can teach your kids while we're still not, while the S hasn't hit the fan yet. Although it seems like it's coming crazy. If you're in I don't know where Kamchatka or someplace in Russia, you're buried under 300 feet of snow right now. And there's some skills that you could teach your kids how to shovel that out of your way. I think that's the name of the state that's being buried and had that over record snowfall, Kamchatka or something like that.
Yeah, if ever you wanted to have a good all-purpose tool for snow clearing and self-defense, that it would be a flamethrower. Flamethrower would be the optimal solution right now. Like, oh my goodness, that's
Right?
Crazy.
It is.
And there's AI videos that I've seen, and then there's like the real videos that I've seen, and I'm like, the AI is not that far off. Like it's
not.
Like I'm not
pretty crazy.
I'm not seeing any real videos where the people are tossing their kids off the side of the building to slide down a embankment that's like almost vertical pitch. But yeah, there's some pretty close videos.
There's some fun stuff out there. I was like, good for you guys for making lemonade out of the lemons that you got dished up to you. We want to just help you guys remember one of the fastest, best ways to stay prepared is to go visit our friends over at Survival Frog. Survivalfrog.com has a myriad of survival gear. They have food storage. They have meats, canned meats, that are 25-year shelf life. They've got gear. They've got cool stuff for winter, summer, spring, fall. They got it all. And so go over there and check them out. Use Prepper Talk 10, Prepper Talk 10, and get 10% off your order over there. Also, I don't know if you guys know, but there's part of prepping is being healthy, especially if in your family you want to be healthy. Our goal is to help you get healthy, stay healthy, and do it in an affordable way. This company here, this is one of the many products, Super Greens. They have one of the best prices. One of the companies out there actually just had a recall on their Super Greens for salmonella poisoning. And so the company that we promote here at preppertalkradio.com/goodlife has quality control, and they have third-party lab tested results that you can actually look up, to confirm that what's on the label is actually in the product. That's a huge deal. And you do not want to buy a greens product and have to worry about salmonella. So if you're going to get some greens, go over and do it with our good friends over at preppertalkradio.com/goodlife. And you're going to be impressed with the price over there. They just actually came out with an NAD plus supplement, and that's really cool. That's a huge popular thing going on right now, NAD plus, and all the benefits that you can have from that. So we also want to point you to our good friends at Jace Medical for all of your medical needs, your prescription drug needs. Of course, we want you to, one of the skills I'm going to bring up today is learning how to heal naturally. But until you've got that skill developed, you're going to need to have some pharmaceuticals probably in your stash just for those, just until you can get the herbology skills up to where they need to be. So without anything further, let's jump in. If you're watching today, you'll see that it's just Scott and I. Shane had some significant family things happen, come up. Nothing serious. That's nothing to worry about for him. But he just had a lot of family stuff happening, And he just was like, guys, I'm not going to be able to make it. And so we're going to hold down the fort for Shane. He's doing great. And we just are just going to be Scott and I tonight, Paris and Scott, cranking it out.
No, 2/3 of the fun. It's yeah, I miss having Shane here. It's whenever one of us is missing, it's always like, oh,
It's just different.
it's good, but it's not as it's when there's the three of us, it's more fun, there's more energy, there's more everything. So we're gonna try to make this as fun as possible. I have a crap ton on my list. But I'm already seeing in the chat, like Utah Mike, thank you. He's like, you better be all over number one, Paris. That is the prep to teach your youth financial prepping, right?
Yes.
And it's funny because watching the economy right now, I'm getting messages all the time right now from people in our groups, people in my circle of friends. They're like, what is happening with the economy? What is going on? Are we? And I'm like, we're painstakingly moving towards the cliff. Like,
yeah, slowly but surely inching along.
It doesn't feel like it's inching as much as it used to feel. Like it felt like it was that everything behind the scenes was huge, right now. Massive, monstrous moves, and we're just this little tiny snowball at the top of the mountain. And now, like we're snowman size snowball coming down that hill, and it's going to get bigger and faster, and until it just completely pops off, and we're going to have an entirely different financial situation. But I think that broaching the subject of things we've got to make sure we teach our kids right away, absolutely always, like financial preparedness. Part of that is budgeting, because then that carries over into whatever you've stockpiled, like your food storage, budgeting that, right? Understanding what you have, what you need, what it costs to replace. Those are like the skills that they stopped teaching in high school. When I was in high school, I remember when they pulled out home ec. I don't know if you were young enough to have that in your school, but I was a sophomore and I took home ec, and then the next year they pulled it out of the school, and I was like, what the heck? Because we learned how to budget, we learned how to we had to go through the whole process of getting an apartment, getting a job, getting a car, putting together a budget, and making all of our purchases work within our budget. We had one guy who I remember, he's like, oh, I got it, I figured it out. And he's like, he bought a car, he didn't get an apartment, he lived in his car. He's like, I'm saving so much money, I'm gonna be rich. And the teacher's like, no, you can't choose to be homeless. He's like, it works for me. And now look, everybody wants to live in a van down by the river.
They do. Van life is the deal now.
But the frugality of it, the practicality of it, and he bought a big old van, and that's what he did. And
that's awesome.
It was awesome. I mean, I think it was like the month after Chris Farley did his van down by the river skit. And so it was just like perfect timing. He's like, it's justifiable. I could be a motivational speaker. But and now what do we teach kids in school? No practical knowledge. Even the new math is new mathing the confused out of the old new math. And then since the 50s, we've had 6 different new maths. And every one of them has been designed to make it harder and harder and harder to do basic math. So we've got to take a bigger responsibility with our kids, with our family, like the next generation behind us. If you leave it to public education, they're scroodly-doodled. It's bad.
Yeah, I think one of the major issues is money management skills, just knowing how to manage the money that's coming in. And with credit cards, to me, credit cards are a psyop. Credit cards are just part of the system that's supposed to keep us in slavery or completely dumbed down. And that, you get the false sense of security. I got all this money coming in, plus I have all these reserves on these cards that they've sent me. I got a credit limit of 10,000. Wow, I could go buy a bunch of stuff and I just, small monthly payments. Well, you're going to lock yourself into small monthly payments for the rest of your life. And that's a ball and chain you do not want to get into. And so one of the things that I think first and foremost is just, balancing your checkbook. And I don't know, not that we have checkbooks anymore, but you can do that with a spreadsheet pretty easily. And I taught my son how to do it, and my daughters, and they're just, every time I get a call from them about something financial, they're like, "Dad, thank you so much for helping us out with this because it's so important."
Oh
And
yeah.
that is a huge life skill. It's a very important life skill, especially nowadays with the economy, with inflation going where it's going. We just need more people who understand how cash flows in and out of their life, and that they're managing it appropriately. And not just that, but the skill of being. Um, I don't know if it's a skill as much as it is a mindset, but mindsets and skills kind of go together, in my opinion. That you've got to get to the point where you've defined what is enough for you and not be so consumer or and consumption minded. Just really working on that too is another skill I think that we can really teach our kids, I think.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. When it comes to the prepping list, oh, it's huge. It is.
Yeah,
Dude, I'm on.
let's
I'm
jump
like
in.
3 pages in. Like I've been, but this episode isn't about everything. This is about like mission critical. And we could get into, okay, like you need to understand, reading, writing, and arithmetic, like all those things that you need to learn. Like, but we also need to get into, okay, what are the things, as Shane would say, and this is kind of perfect plug in for him, is look to the past to prepare for the future. Like, what were the most fundamental things that we were taught by our family members 80 years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago? Like, what were they doing? What were the things they had to master to be able to survive? Because it's not going to take much to throw us into that world. And people who have not thought about that world are going to be the first ones to fail and quit and just give up and
Hmm.
die. And I don't want to be that. I don't want my kids to be that. I want robust children who then will create another robust generation beyond that. But for them to be able to do that, they have to be able to, first and foremost, know how to prioritize. If they can't prioritize what they're working on, what needs to be done first, that is going to be the biggest, I feel, biggest failure point for most people come disaster time. And that's why I'm so passionate about like having a plan, like putting together a big plan. If we have to evacuate, here's where we're going. Here's the maps. If we're going to relocate in the city, here's what we do. Like if there's a house fire, we got to relocate. Right? There's the small situations, small disasters, but the big disasters, it's like, okay, we've got to bounce out of town. We're going to move to a new state. We've got to completely change our situation. We're going to grandma and grandpa's ranch out in whereversville, right? How are we getting there? How do we know what to do, how to get there, right? And prioritize and make the decisions at the right times without A, overwhelming ourselves, or B, putting us into a place where it's very dangerous. We've made a critical mistake and now everyone's at risk.
Yeah, that's a good point. Time management, skills, management skills, if all of any kind, leadership skills. Those are some critical skills. I think when going back to answering your specific question on what did they teach children years ago, I think one specific skill was how to maintain and help in the family garden, the family farm. Food preservation is probably something that's huge. I mean, how many dads, 80, 100 years ago would take their kid out and they'd milk the cow together, pick up, and the girls would go pick up the eggs together, and the girls would learn how to cook and make bread and bake things. Today everything is fast food or delivered to your door. And I think there's a huge, I mean, even I downloaded a recipe the other day myself, and I made the biggest mess in my kitchen last night. But and I was like, I'm gonna make, now that I know how to do it, this food was so good. Like what I made was so yummy. I was just like, oh my gosh, I just wish it didn't take so dang long and I didn't make such a big mess. So that's a skill set that I'm just thinking about too, is like food preparation and really being able to cook a home cooked meal that's good and healthy and filled with good ingredients, and that's not gonna that's gonna give you the energy and what you need to keep going. I think home cooked meals is a skill that is very critical, especially something you could teach your kids. Because one of the things that my wife and I thought about when our daughters got married was, oh my gosh, do we teach them enough ways to feed their husbands? Do we teach them the skills of homemaking and helping them understand how to run a home and keep it clean and tidy? Because you don't want to have a messy house either. That's a skill set too that can cause. If you have a messy house, there's clutter and disease that can lurk in the corners if you're
Mhm.
not cleaning up properly on a regular basis. And so those are some skills directly, I think, that would have been taught to those the families and kids 100 years ago.
So let's dive into the prepping verse of this. I think Field Tack dropped a good comment. Let me share this one on the screen. Hunting, trapping, skinning, butchering, wrapping, storing, right? One of the biggest gaps right now is you were talking about a home cooked meal, but like how to acquire the food, whether
Hmm.
that's gardening, trapping, foraging, hunting, fishing, whether you've got your home aquaponics system or hydroponic system in the backyard where you're growing food and vegetables and herbs and fish, right? All the different things. Like you need to figure out which way are we going to go and how. And I'm telling you, you have to teach these things to your kids. Like my kids are getting into gardening with me. I'm
Hmm.
teaching them what we need to space out, where we need to cluster different foods together. But I've got to also make sure teach them when to harvest. I've made critical errors on harvest time.
Hmm.
I had some potatoes. I experimented with growing potatoes in buckets. And guess what? They don't react the exact same way as they do when they're in the ground. You
Oh,
got to
wow.
still give it longer. And I found out that bucket growing those potatoes actually shortens their life cycle. So they won't
Interesting.
grow as big because they need the coolness of the ground. They need to be underground.
Hmm.
I made a lot of mistakes. And my potatoes, I put in, I had 4 buckets of potatoes, and I put in all these little starts, and they're all this big. And when I went to pull it all out, I had about 80 potatoes that were no bigger than an inch across.
Really?
And they're not supposed to be fingerlings, but they were. They still
Wow.
taste fine, but they just didn't grow big enough because I had the conditions wrong and I harvested too soon. Right. And so understanding the things that can ruin a harvest or perfect a harvest. And then with that comes into things like understanding weather, because knowing when you can work on your garden, when you can be out there, when you can work on your shelter, when you can be out there, like, but also knowing when seasons change, what to watch for, what types of severe weather events could come based on cloud formations and wind speeds in your area. Like understanding and knowing those types of things, nobody pays attention to anymore.
Hmm.
Right? Everyone's getting caught off guard. How many hikers got caught off guard in the last summer season because there was floods down in southern Utah, right? I think there were like 3 or 4 people that died. It's because nobody knows how to watch the weather anymore. They have weather apps. Nobody knows how to cook food anymore because they use their cooking app with the recipe. Right? Once you've mastered a recipe, you don't need the recipe anymore. You have it memorized.
Hmm. You
Once you
should.
understand how to cook, what kind of things to flavor with, you don't have to go back to the recipe book all the time to figure out a new type of meal. You can say, "Oh, I remember how to make this food taste this way. I bet I can make this other food taste this way. All I got is rabbits now, but we can make some Italian sauce and mix these things together. And oh, here's some nice herbs and some shallots and some other things we can put together, and we can make a delicious stew."
Yeah.
Right? But if you've never done it with chicken or beef or fish or lamb or
Or
goat, like
anything.
anything new, you're gonna be like, "What do I don't know how to do anything."
Yep. And that's, I think, another, speaking of not knowing how to do anything because you have the app, is traveling. Like, how do you get from point A to point B? And that's a skill. Learning. That was interesting because on X or Twitter, there was a thing that said, "Have you done any of the following 20 things in your on this list?" And baby boomers, I have done all 20 of them, and one of them was used a paper map. And there's several people like, I only have 7, things that I've done. I don't know what to do. And one person said, I doubt anybody has all 20 of these. And I'm like, yeah, if you're a baby boomer or a prepper, or you've had any life experience, you're probably all 20 of them. I was just really surprised how many. I mean, literally, this is the list: used a rotary phone, floppy disk, typewriter, taken photos with a film camera, listened to music on a CD, cassette tape, vinyl record, Walkman, boombox, VHS tapes, sent or received a fax, recorded music from the radio to a cassette, rented a video from Blockbuster, accessed the internet by dial-up, used a phone book, sent a postcard, used paper maps to get somewhere, owned a dictionary, owned an encyclopedia, paid with paper check. And so these are skills, like just balancing your checkbook nowadays is a total skill. And most of these people were like, I don't have half of these things that I've ever done. And so it's like, wow, what kind of world do we live in where people don't know how to use some of the most, send a postcard? Like,
Yeah.
nobody
Every one of
has
those on the list. We've got people in the comments. I've done all those. I'm like, I've done all those too. It's funny because like you mentioned if you're boomers, you've done all this. I'm like, most Gen X's have done this too. But you said
Oh, that's
boomers,
what I
and all
meant.
of a sudden
I'm sorry. I'm not a boomer. I'm a Gen Xer.
the thought hit my mind. I'm like, dude, boomers are going to be the ones in the apocalypse who have their own personal booming economy because they've been there, done that. They've been through other disasters. They understood how to save up for a rainy day. They understood how to stockpile for things. It's our generation and more the millennials and younger that are screwed if they don't start learning these skills. And that's why this is
Yeah.
such a hot topic today, is like,
Gen Z.
these are the skills you have to know. These are the baseline. If you don't know these, how are you going to go anywhere, do anything, eat, live, survive, repeat? And that's that. Like, you can survive without knowing how to use a computer when the computers are gone, right? You don't have to be able to reboot and change the system and swap out hard drives and video cards and stuff. We all know, well, not anymore. Most of us who grew up with in the late 90s to 2010, you built your own computer at one point or another, right?
Yeah.
But eventually that's going to be useless for a little while. But can you process a deer? Here's the easiest one. Can you process a fish?
Man, it's been a long time since I have.
Right? And that's the easy one. You know, what not to cut, what to keep, what to get rid of. Do you have to skin it? Do you have to descale it? Like, all these different little things. It's like, I show like my nieces and nephews. I'm like, hey, look, here's a fish. Let's cut it. Let's process it. And they're like, and they have this queasy look, and they're like,
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know.
gross.
And I'm like, we're gonna eat this, and they're like, what? I'm like, yeah. And it's like, those are skills, right? Those are skills you need to have. You if you don't do it now, when the opportunity comes where you have to do it, it becomes a crisis point, right? And I'm seeing in the comments, the chat, like it's going on, like cursive writing. Just, you don't necessarily need cursive writing, but you definitely need to know how to write, because you're going to be leaving. Like, one of my fears is if my family gets separated and we don't have access to the comms, we've got to leave a note if we've got to relocate. So when the other person gets there, oh, we're going to somewhere else. Right. And if not everybody knows how to communicate and leave the right notes and use the codes that we use, because I don't want it to just be like, hey, we went over to this address. No, we have code words that mean different places, that mean we're meeting somewhere else at this time. But you've got to plan that, practice that, and put it into action now and learn the skills now. Otherwise, when things get edgy, when things get hyper, you're not going to know what to say or do. Right. And then that goes back to, okay, what other skills, what other tools, what other things, not tools, but what other skills do people need? I've got construction, sewing, weather and storms, navigation, prioritization, which we opened the show with. We kind of touched on navigation, first aid. And I'm not like, this is one I'm going to circle back to, but fitness, cleaning, hygiene, sanitation, right? Food. We've talked quite a bit about this. I won't go any deeper into that, but security. So let's jump back to first aid. In the comments, drop like, what's the most extensive first aid training you've had? Like, a lot of people, the best they've had is maybe CPR training at work. Like, do you know how to treat large gashes? Do you know how to treat broken bones? Do you know how to, do you have basic wound care broken down? Like, some of those things are what's like that lead to bacterial infections, gangrene, like septic septis issues. Like, it can get really bad if you don't
Fast.
know how to keep it clean. And it does not take long at all. But it's knowing how to keep it clean and what types of tools to use and what to do and what not to do is going to be the difference maker. But like, I just forgot the name of the company I was going to give a shout out to. Um, they do first aid kits and training. Well, AMP3 does this too. So if you guys search up AMP-3, I think
Is it our buddy over at
so amp-3.net has first aid kits and training, and then there's the ones down in like Georgia. I can't think of their names all of a sudden. If anybody thinks of them, drop it in the comments, because we need more first aid training. Everybody needs more first aid training, and not just the basics, not CPR. I'm talking trauma response.
Yeah, I did the CERT training back in California when I lived there, and they actually do mock disasters where, hey, you came across um, I think the one that we did was actually an earthquake where you actually come across people that pretended to have a broken arm or broken leg.
Mhm.
It's not the same exactly, but it's still close as I'm going to get, I think, to real opportunity to really learn. But I think that's, not everybody can go through EMT training or paramed training, but I think it's important to get as close as you can and do any kind of um, advanced first aid or basic to advanced first aid trainings that you can, because that's gonna be critical. I mean, if everything is great, if everything goes well and you're fine, then the main skills to learn are just how to get food, how to prepare and get water and purify the water, and then how to like sustain that life where you need to learn a little bit of construction skills. Maybe you need to learn how to build a few things to keep yourself, maybe something happens where you need to build something to protect yourself. You can't go to the store anymore and just buy a new bookshelf. You got to repair the bookshelf you have because nobody's selling them. So those are some things too that you got to think about. One skill that I know I'm definitely grateful that I have a couple of neighbors is mechanical skills, my car repairs.
Yes.
But after those things, just day-to-day life, man, there's people get sick. If there's some real survival issues that are happening and you're got to travel somewhere and you're traveling through a lot of rubble or whatnot, you might have to, you're going to definitely at some point, you're going to need to have some first aid skills. And you may not be the guy who sets everyone's broken arm. You're not the physician of the group, but you got to have some idea of how to get people stabilized enough that you could then get them to the guy who is better at it than you are. I think that's another key element too, is just to remember, do I have to learn to be a nurse or a doctor? No, you don't have to be all that. You don't have to go all that, but I think you should have enough skill that you could get them stabilized and then transport them to the person who has more medical, training than you do if necessary.
So on our website, if you go to resources, you can find Mountain Man Medical. They do have links to training on there, some more advanced training. That was what I was trying to think of. But yeah, Mountain Man Medical. If you go to our preppertalkradio.com, they've got links to amazing kits, but also a lot of training as well. But yeah, like switching into the mechanical stuff, like basic fixing of things. We live in the disposable world, which it's disgusting. Tools aren't as good as they were 20, 30 years ago, 40, 50 years ago. I've got a drill that's 50 plus years. It's older than me, and it's better than the DeWalt ones I bought from 5 years ago.
Wow.
And it's corded, but that thing is old. Like, it was one of my dad's first drills. Like, it was, he still has old tools from, I don't even know how long. They're heavy. They're steel encased, right? But they're not going to break easy. They're they're a lot more robust. They're a lot more dependable, but they're also, you can open them up and work on them
Mm-hmm.
and maintain them. Whereas a lot of stuff they make now, you open it up, it's destroyed. You can't reseal it. And they make them intentionally to be broken. And so you've got to know, what can I fix? Car maintenance, mechanical use, engines, understanding the flow of your engine, how everything works together. Do you need to know HVAC? No, because your HVAC's not going to, if we don't have a grid and there's no energy, who cares?
But you
Right?
do need to learn how to fix your generator.
Yep. Mechanical, right? Mechanical engine. And
No,
so
I bought a solar
understanding
power
those
bank, but
basics.
Shane's built one, and he says the reason why I built it is so that I know how to fix it if it goes down. And I'm like, dang, that's super smart. I should have, but I bought one already. So yeah.
Agreed. Agreed. It's funny. We're getting a lot of different comments. 50 years ago, is it grounded? It is the comment on the drill. It is a grounded. It's a 3-prong. My dad has some that are two-prong plugs too, that are even older. But yeah, these are old and they last longer. They're better. But I think there's a lot of things. It's like, we look at what's going on in the world. Like, we're headed right now at financial reset. Like, all signs point to it's not just imminent, it's like urgently imminent. We have the Fed doing what the Fed does. We have the whole transaction with Venezuela. It feels like Trump's pulling all those resources to use those to reset, force a push, move things digital, and then wipe out debts and balances owed to other places. And that's just what it feels like to me.
Well,
So,
he even said that our financial system is decades old, and
oh
we
yeah,
need to have a new system put into place, and we're going to build it on the backbone of crypto or blockchain. That's
which
something
is,
I watched a video, unless it's AI of some kind, but I watched a video where he was saying these very things.
yeah, that was
And
like 8 months
so
ago, but it's true.
was it 8
Like that,
months ago?
it was like 8 months ago that he did that video.
Oh, okay.
Like, and well, not quite 8 months ago, but it's been a while. But it's like, we're being signaled that it's about to switch, right? And there's a lot of commotions going on behind the scenes, but it's like, financial's good and an important skill right now. But once that reset fails, because it's supposed to, and then we're going to be like, okay, now what? Money's going to be useless. Your gold and silver will be awesome for a little while, but then it's going to be useless, and you're not going to need to know how to budget, but you're going to have to know how to budget your food, right? We use different verbs and vernacular for that.
Well, I think something there's still gonna be commerce, there's still gonna be transactions, and so there's still gonna
It's
be
going to be trade.
what
It's
what are we
not
gonna
going to
do?
be,
It's gonna be bartering and
it's going to
trading.
be
So
barter.
I still feel like there's an important, you gotta know the value of something. Like, what did we do when we were kids, right? We go up to some kid who's got a 20, and we show him that we got 2 5s, and we're like, "Look, there's 2. You have 1. We'll trade our 2 for your 1." And he's like, "Okay, sure." And he gives you a 20, and you send him slip him 2 5s, and you walk away with more. That was not.
I didn't grow up on the mean streets of Reno, or not Reno. What is it? Where'd you grow up again?
Well, I was in Southern California, but, that was just something that I had seen other people do. Yeah, yeah. So it's
We
like,
didn't have to worry about that. But look, like,
you have to know
it's
the
typical
value of
barter
things.
and trade. When we're barter and trade, the value is the value perceived by the person in commerce, right?
Well, but at the same time, you have to know the value yourself, so that if you're getting just taken advantage of or not. So
Well,
there's still some skill set in knowing, hey, this thing's worth way more than what you're telling me that you're willing to pay for it, etc. And so you can barter and negotiate. I think negotiation skills, that's going to
yeah,
be a
huge.
huge thing in the future.
Yeah, I think that is like negotiating, communication, being able to have a hard conversation, because negotiation can get very heated, right?
Mhm.
And I think in a barter and trade situation, it's going to be way different than how it's been perceived. Um, because you're talking about, okay, this has a specific value, right? Well, in regular trade and commerce, it did. but now it may not, right? Let's fast forward to it post SHTF. It may have zero value to 99.9% of the people. So its value is no longer, right? Certain things will no longer have value at all.
And that's where we need to verify. We still need to know that. We still need to know what has value and what doesn't.
Well, I think it comes down to what are my basic needs, right? If you go to like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like the first most important thing is I need to have shelter, right? Which also falls into the emergency rule of 3. Like you can survive 3 hours or so in inclement weather. Beyond that, you're going to start dying off because you're going to have problems from exposure or whatnot. But then we've got like the 3 days without water, 3 days or 3 weeks without food. And obviously we can go a lot longer than that without food. Most of us. Paris might not be able to. You're fit and fiddle, and I'm not. I haven't eaten too much fiddle paddle, so I'm on the other side of the spectrum. But like understanding like what value something has for the survival situation. If someone comes across and they're like, "Hey, I want to trade. We need food." I'll be like, "Okay, good luck. Kick bricks," right? Because the food value is way more than anything else they could present me with. Hey, I have a gold bar. Kick bricks. But
it's gold.
It's worth $5,000. I'm like, yeah, good luck, right? It's worth $50,000. It's worth $1 million, right? A meal is more important to me and my family at that point, right? So certain things value is going to be completely innate. But understanding what's important, prioritization, understanding what my needs are, because wants are out the window. Right now we live in Wantsville. Everybody, I want this, I want that. How many times your kids come to you all day long? Dad, I want one of these. Okay, congratulations.
Great. We all want stuff.
There's so many things I want that I'll never go get because it's not a need. And in a survival scenario, they need to understand how to prioritize these things better than ever. Right. And what's funny is no one really knows exactly what's going to happen next. But as a scriptural person, when I do my prepping, I look at the signs in the heaven and I know the timeline's short. When I was a kid and I hear people talking about emergency prep, because I grew up in this stuff, like prepping was part of life. My grandfather had a bunker. He was in World War II. And I thought a lot of that was stupid.
They were crazy.
Because they're like, oh, we're going to break out into war. And I'm like, no, we're not. I'm like, oh, we're going to break out into war. And I'm like, all through my growing up years, I'm like, I don't think so. For the first time in my life, yeah, it's going to happen.
You're thinking so.
I'm knowing so because the signs tell me. We have everything is lining up according to, and for those who don't like the scriptural side of things, like, I'm sorry, but like Daniel, John, Isaiah, like they're all telling us the same things. And it's like what to look for, what to expect. We're seeing the signs. And so we know it's nigh unto the doorstep. Like it's going down, guys. And a lot of it's still behind the scenes. Still, we don't see it all, but you can feel it when you get in tune with the signs, when you get in tune with what's going on in the world. You can feel it. It's different. It's different than it's ever been. And what's funny is I'm at peace with it all. You'd think I'd like, oh crap, it's about to pop off. I'm panicking. No, that's another skill we've got to teach. Like we've got to teach them how to find peace, how to focus on what's the most important thing right now. And let's get that job done now. Right now I can go on to the next job. Now I can focus on the next thing. But like we've got a year tops before our financial systems transitioned.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. That's what they're talking about.
Like I think we're 3 to 6 months on a lot of switches to crypto backed stuff, but I don't think we have more than a year based on what I'm seeing. But also the other part of it is there are wars and rumors of wars all over the world. The signs in the heaven, a lot of them have been fulfilled, right? The temperature gauge on when we see all the countries of the world, all the governments combining into one system.
Yeah, one world system.
One world government. We're all but maybe one or two converged. That's crazy. That's the first time. That's the first time in my life it's been this close.
Yeah, it's true. I think another skill that we need to teach our kids is how to entertain themselves.
Mm,
I think that a lot of kids just don't know how to use their imagination. They don't know how to play games outside without having some kind of prompting from a device. They don't know how, there's those, for a while there was the huge craze to get out and go do your Pokemon Go or whatever it was. So you go capture your Pokemon on your cell phone. So kids were getting out in the outside, but it was, they were still on their devices looking at their screens. And so it's like, okay, how many people like how many people know how to ride a bike anymore? How many people know how to skateboard or how to, go rock climbing or hiking or just have a play football or basketball or baseball? Like some of these skills in sports are even lacking, and there's still a lot of that in the school system, thankfully. But there's still a lot of kids that are like, well, if I'm not prompted by my device, I have no idea what to do.
mm,
Or that, like, for example, my daughter is an excellent artist. She draws really well, and, a lot of her drawings are on her iPad because she's got the drawing app, and I'm just like, "Hey, kiddo, you need to probably, get a book where of a sketchbook and continue to draw," and she has, and she does really, I mean, for some of her artwork, I'm like, "Man, you should do this for a living because you're getting really good at it." But, I think entertaining yourself, card games, board games, anything like that should be, that's another skill. Just how do you keep yourself entertained if it's not with
mhm.
a device of some kind? And so that's, using your imagination is gonna be critical. My daughter and her married a guy who just really into Dungeons& and Dragons, and I used to play it as a kid too, and I'm like, that's about as, you don't need a device. That's the best game we've played as a family in a long time without a device. And then when we were together over Christmas, we started playing board games and other things, and we're like, "Man, this is fun. We should do some more of this,"
Yeah.
laughing and communicating one with another without having to worry about bzz, bzz, or some notification distracting people.
Isn't that crazy? Like, I saw a guy with a shirt the other day, and it was a Gen X, um, and it said, "Don't touch, not friendly." And I started laughing because I'm like, yeah, like Gen X, we we're less like willing to put up with stuff.
Mhm.
But the thought that went with that too is also like, yeah, we and everyone before us been there, done that. Thankfully, there's no photographic evidence to be brought up, right? We 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 did crazy stuff growing up. Um,
Yeah.
but like we also learned the hard lessons. Like I think one of the other things is like understanding how to identify repercussions of choices before the mistake is made, or because there's opportunity costs in every kind of decision. There's opportunity costs. Like if I decide I'm going to go get meat rabbits, right? Well, then I'm now committing myself and all the finances to that. Like I'm not going to have the funds that I can go commit to something else at the same time, right?
Mhm.
Unless I have an excess of funds, like some people do. But I try to tightly budget everything. But being able to identify what could happen or what could go wrong, or what are the outcomes comes going to be, what do I need to concern myself with or be worried about, like, and how can I maintain myself moving down that path of making sure it gets done and not just started.
Yeah.
Because right now, like what you were saying with apps, like people will start a fitness program and they'll only follow what the app tells them to do. What happens if the app's gone?
Yeah.
They stop working out,
Mhm.
right? What happens if they're not tracking their macros or micros for their diet? They fall off the diet.
Yeah.
Um, right.
I think I think, it's interesting because Field Tech, is having some great comments here, and, some of his comments just prompted this thought that I had, is one of the, I think, critical thinking, and,
Mhm.
one of the as every book that I read that talks about the Stoics, they talk about the ability to have and understand, um, not just critical thinking, but reasoned choice. Being able to reason and to be able to think critically are skills that I think are totally gone right now. Everybody, another thing too that's gone is being able to think for yourself and really weigh the options and figure out what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad, so to speak. And not just for you or on an individual, but like for society as well. And I think that there's so many people that are just woke mob, just doing whatever the cool thing of the day is, and they're not really considering, well, wait a minute, why am I doing this? And that's a skill set that I think that's important. Like too many times, like my son, my oldest son, he just came to me, he says, Dad, some of my friends, they'll just do stuff. And I'm just like, all right, let's go. I got nothing else to do. Why not? And he's like, I realized that I need to, I need to, if it serves what I want, like he, first of all, he's like, I need to figure out what my purpose in life is, what I want to do with my life.
Mm,
And if I'm invited to do something that serves that or gets me closer to that, I'll do it. But if I'm not, I don't want to do it anymore. And
that's
I'm like,
wisdom.
"You've that's wisdom. That you're developing some
Wow.
really good wisdom." And I think that's a skill. That's a really powerful skill. I mean, it's you can be influenced by others, but you have to be the one who is willing to also stand up and influence others. And so that's a skill set too, that to be able to influence others for good and
Yeah.
for the moving forward. Like if somebody's influencing you for in the and it's going to be either unethical, illegal, or woke, you don't have the skills to you shouldn't be you need to stop and you need to have some you need to be able to have critical thinking and reasoned choice of your own. So
Well, it
that's
also
one of
goes
the things
back
I'm thinking.
to having a foundation of common sense or just general understanding of how things work,
Yeah.
but also having a morality.
Mhm.
Right? Morality doesn't exist without a belief in God, without a belief in a higher power. Right? That's where morality comes from. And so having a morality helps you identify the value in people, the value in things, the value in experiences, right. That gives a foundation for so much. And was that your 17-year-old or
The
your
one that
20
no, my 26-year-old.
26-year-old? I almost said 24. I'm like, is he I can't remember how old he is now. What the I
Yeah.
think he's getting old.
Mhm.
But like it's funny because like the skills that we were exposed to as a kid, right? We were exposed to scouting, first aid, orienteering, cooking, citizenship in the community, citizenship in the nation, citizenship in the
Mhm.
world, all right. We're ham radio. I did 4-H, and that's going off in the comments right now too, right? Um, like all these different things, and now what do our kids do? They're gaming on their apps, their iPads, are reading a few books here and there, and it's like trying to get them out the door is getting harder and harder to do with everything begging for their time digitally. And
Yeah.
it's like, but also look at the educational system. They've been kicking that out for going on 30 years. When did in the comments, did you have a auto shop in your school? In my school, we did. We had a machine shop, we had an auto shop, and a wood shop, and they
Yep.
eliminated all three of them the same year that they
Really.
eliminated home ec. That was
I
93.
remember auto I don't my high school had auto shop, machine and wood. I did wood shop for
Yeah.
sure, and I don't know if there was an auto shop. I know the college had it, the 2-year college had it, yeah, auto shop and mechanics had all that. So, but I don't know what it's like. I'm sure colleges and universities are required to have them versus high schools, but
Mhm.
I just don't I definitely remember, in high school having, doing woodworking. I made a chessboard, I made a clock, I made a bunch of stuff, bookends, I made a bunch of stuff, the traditional stuff that you make in wood shop. So it was awesome. That was a lot of fun.
Right. And you learned a ton of skills.
Mhm.
And those skills, even though you aren't using them all the time now, you have an idea of how it worked, how you did things, how you had to
Yeah.
solve those problems, right? And that type of critical thinking is what you were talking about 10 minutes ago. We need to teach critical thinking. All these skills, it really comes down to commerce, which is understanding money, understanding trade, understanding barter, right? Food, which is everything from gather, hunter. grower, right, gardener, farmer, to artisan chef, which honestly in the apocalypse, I don't care if it's got enough herbs and spices on it. I'm just going to want to eat, right? We all
Right.
there'll be a certain point, but hey, if we can find some lovely scallions, let's add some lovely scallions.
Right.
We've got to understand the width, the breadth, the width, the scope of the whole food cycle system,
Hmm.
right? And then it's communication, security, building community, because we are going to have to work together with our neighbors to solve the problems in our locality, to be able to endure what's coming.
Yeah.
And if we can't have those conversations, if we don't know the foundations of the first few things, how are we going to endure the other ones, right? How are we going to be able to build back? Or what was the Biden thing? Build back better, right?
Yeah.
Build back
Yeah.
without the Fedzilla, right?
Yeah. Well, I agree with that term, that concept. I just don't agree with how it was applied.
The implementation was horrible.
Yeah. Another skill I think is important is defensive skills, hand-to-hand
Mhm.
combat, skills to protect yourself, keep yourself safe. I mean, right now we're seeing more and more people getting attacked in parking lots, in just in the street. And
Mhm.
I watch some of these videos that are posted of people getting attacked, whether it's by knife or by gun or by just punched in the face by somebody walking by. And I feel like there's some definite skill sets in awareness. Like be situationally aware, know what's going on around you, know who looks a little shady and who doesn't. And not that we can always determine that 100% accuracy, but man, if you're paying attention to what's going on, I I I personally believe that if you're vigilant and paying attention and you looking, like if some dude's walking by and you look him in the eyes, highly likely he's not gonna attack you because he's like, "Oh, that dude just looked me in the eyes. He knows what I look like," and or what he knows, he's got more confidence. If you just carry yourself, just roll your shoulders back a little bit different. You may not know how to fight, but if you roll your shoulders back a little bit, you look people in the eye, you smile, you say hi, whatever, I think you're gonna avoid a lot of situations more than somebody who's kinda looking a little shady but knows how to fight. And, to me, I'm, 50 some odd years, 51 years old now, and I've never been in a physical altercation with anybody, besides my siblings, and I think that has a lot to do with the fact that I know how to talk my way out of stuff, and I know how to not I know how to avoid it in the first place. So, yeah, dude, isn't that crazy?
I'm like, what?
I don't think I don't remember a time.
Not even in high school?
I don't mm-mm. I don't think I ever, I mean, I did sparring with some folks because I was into martial arts,
Yeah.
but and it was just fun. It was mutually, we were just doing it, and but no, I never had anybody angry enough that they came up and punched me or I needed to punch them, and it never so I guess I've just gotten away with it, but, there's some ways to get through life where you don't have to have that experience, and so but it's
I
good to still know and have the confidence that if you do get in a situation, you can handle it.
Sixth grade was the worst year. I got I got in 7 fights with the same kid, and he kept picking him, and I'm like, "What the heck?" And I tried to
Oh, I
de-escalate,
do
like,
remember a kid tried to hit me with a bat,
but I
but I ran
even in
faster
the
than he did.
I haven't had to de-escalate anything in the probably the last, well, I've been in one major altercation in the last decade, and I've de-escalated a few others that I stumbled upon. But,
Mhm.
like, I've only had one where it was, like, my life was in danger scenario in the last decade.
Yeah.
Honestly, that was the since being about 24, 23. So from 23 to 48, I've had one incident, right? I'm really good at avoiding. I'm really good at being present and aware, right? And de-escalation. I think
Mhm.
there's a lot for de-escalation that people just don't even think about. Avoidance is huge, but if it's something you've got to like jump in and help, like you sometimes you just have to.
Yeah.
Um, Especially if you're going to go protect a woman or a child, like you've got to get in, you've got to de-escalate, you've got to stop things. But things are going to get more consistent, and this was in the chat for a long time, more chaotic as we continue to move forward. I mean, just watch what's going on in Minnesota and the insanity there, right? It's
Yeah.
getting more and more chaotic. It's getting more and more kinetic. And as you were talking about, like just seeing these videos of people just turn around punching somebody just to punch,
Yeah,
knocking
or
somebody out on the
imagine.
street, walking by.
Or
Right.
just random immigrant doing stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of immigrants and having problems, I think there's been a lot of traffic issues with people driving big rigs the wrong way and just
Hmm.
not paying attention, and that causing huge pileups. So defensive driving skills too, like knowing how to, if you see something happening, how to handle that. And it's some of these things you can teach to your kids, and some of them you just have to say, I want to make you aware of it so that if you ever get into it, you're like, oh, my dad was saying something about this. I better use my critical thinking and get myself out of it.
Yeah. So in closing, here's my thought. All these skills that we've talked about, what it really comes down to is I think there's kind of a three-prong approach. Number one is patience. When things are in critical,
Mass.
dire circumstances, whatnot, being patient, right? You can only do so much. So focus on the most important thing you can be doing, get that done, then go to the second most important thing, right? And be patient with it, and be patient with the process, and be patient with people. Number two, be creatively improvise creatively, right? Be a creative problem solver. Figure out new ways to do things, how to fix things that are broken or solve problems that are coming up as they come up. And then my favorite, be lazy. What I mean by that is be efficient,
Mm-hmm.
right? Be efficient. If I can use a gravity feeder to filter my water, or I could go use a hand pump, I'm going to use a gravity feeder every time because it conserves calories. It takes less off my plate of things I have to do, right? Be cognizant of how much energy something's going to take before you undertake it.
Mm-hmm.
Be a little bit lazy in that. It will save you energy. It'll give you longevity. But then it all goes back to starting from the beginning. Be patient, prioritize, and go from there.
That's excellent. I'll just share a couple last minute thoughts too. Is that some of the skills that I think are really critical is mental toughness skills are going to be critical as well. Just things we haven't touched on so far, just to kind of wrap it up. And I think mental toughness skills, I think the ability to have some faith and some spiritual skills, knowing how to pray, knowing how to access the Holy Spirit and God, are going to be critical. Knowing how to understand, what to worry about and what not to worry about, where you need to focus your energy. And I think that's critical too, because if you only have so many calories that you can eat because you're rationing food, you're going to need to ration your energy and your life energy to the point where you can actually do the work you need to get done at the minimal level and still eat the food that you have before you got to go get more. And so skills, mental toughness skills, I think are cool. I think another great skill to learn is critical thinking, because if you can look at a situation, problem solving skills, if you can look at a situation, you can say, you know what, I believe that I can figure this out. I'm going to do a few things. I'm going to try a few experiments, and then eventually, if you're willing to be patient, like you said, Scott, you can try a couple things. When they don't work, be patient, keep trying, because you never know when you're going to find the thing that works and you're going to find the solution to the problem that's in front of you. But if you just give up early, you're not going to. I
Mhm.
think that resilience is also a skill. You can't give up. You got to just keep fighting and keep going and keep doing it. Um, it was interesting. I watched the Mission Impossible movie, The Final Reckoning, and as I was watching Ethan Hunt, the actor who plays the main character in those movies, as I was watching him go through all of the things that he had to go through to, save the world, I thought to myself, at some point, did he ever think to himself, "Why am I doing this? What is the point of all this?" And so when we're on point and we're on mission and we're on purpose, it gives us the ability to kind of do the things we need to do, and gives us that resilience and gives us that reason for suffering, the reason for doing the hard thing, even if we don't. That's I think that's critical to know, why are you doing what you're doing, and having the skills to be able to say, you know what, if I don't know how to do it, I know I can figure it out. That's my final thoughts. So you've been listening. Oh, Scott, do you want to follow up on that? Any of that, or are we good to close it out? You've been listening to Prepper Talk Radio, radio for the ready-minded. Thank you so much for being with us tonight on live, and those who are listening later, thanks for listening. We appreciate all that you do. Again, go check out our friends at survivalfrog.com. Use code PrepperTalk10. Check out preppertalkradio.com/good life for health-related products and services that to get healthy, stay healthy, and do it in an affordable way. And we'll see you on the next episode. Take care, guys.
Good night, everybody.